was a skill challenge. Potion wouldn't have worked. It's part of the tabletop game we play. One Blade Runner, director's cut coming right up. Keep it. I'm just glad someone here appreciates the classics. You even asked for the director's cut, which took out the shitty voiceover and replaced it with a sweet dream sequence. Hey, do you know if Rachel's a gamer? Didn't you two go out last night, or was it just like a friend thing? Oh, sweet. Chloe, you should join our game. We're at the end of the campaign, so it'll only take like 20 minutes. What else have you got to do before class? You know where to find us. Whoa, just in time too. Mikey was about to seriously die a horrible and painful death. Thanks again for the game, Chloe. Here's a character sheet. You are an elf barbarian. In other words, Chloe Price. I know, I'm good. All right, let's get started. You are both famous heroes in the kingdom of Avernon, a once peaceful land, now laid to waste by the bloodthirsty raiders of the Black Well. Alone, you have fought your way through the raider camps, seeking their warlord leader, Durgaron, the Unscarred. As you enter the final camp, bloodied and weary, you see your fellow hero approaching from the opposite direction. Introduce your character. Chloe. Really? Hey, give Barb a chance, okay? Super into it. The two heroes. I did. You stand at a three-way crossing. To your left, the raiders' training ground. To your right, their prison camp. Straight ahead, an enormous, ostentatious tent that could only belong to Durgaron, the Unscarred. Which way do you go? Your choice, newbie. Where do you wish to go? Upon arriving at the training ground, you are spotted by a heavy-set orc who immediately shouts and points. There are a dozen raiders on the training field, all of whom raise their weapons and charge. Overkill? You conjure up a wave of acid that washes over the charging orcs. Every raider suddenly starts screaming and writhing in pain. There's a sweet and sour kind of smell as the flesh melts off their bones like warm candle wax. The heavy-set orc sergeant still remains. He runs at you, swinging a massive warhammer. Success! The orc clutches his groin, never to father children again. Your turn again, Chloe. A pommel is the end of a sword handle. Pommel strike is where you hit the guy with it. Except you're not wielding a sword, you're wielding an axe. You've delayed too long. The orc swings his warhammer at your head, barely missing. Your move. You swing your great axe downward with both hands. The orc blinks, then splits open like a hot dog bun. It's going well. Well, as the training ground is now a roiling pit of acid, it's unlikely any loot survived. What's next? You behold a field of standing iron cages, each imprisoning a human villager, calling out for you to free them. Only a small, elderly dragonkin is keeping watch. He notices you, and, in terror, runs into one of the few empty cages and locks himself in. The dragonkin hops up and down, shaking his ring of keys at you. He shouts in a strange language. Whatever he's saying probably isn't flattering. Sure, you spend a long time trying to pick the lock, but don't accomplish anything. The dragonkin makes an obscene gesture at what you can only assume are his genitals. He sticks out his tongue, finding your offering disgusting. You can try. What do you say? Unfortunately, he doesn't speak common, which means he can't shit. Really? So this is called a skill challenge, where you try to use... He steps back, his scaly skin quivering in fear. What do you say? He doesn't seem to like that idea. The dragonkin pleads with you. Please don't harm me, tall one, but I cannot give you key. Durgaron much taller and meaner than you. That was a mistake. The dragonkin growls, snapping at you and showing his teeth and claws. Tall one is a fool. Dragons are gods, he says. No, please don't do that. Still I cannot give key. Durgaron will eat me. He is undaunted. I will eat your face, elven garbage lady. I'm trying. You try, but he's incredibly agile. He dodges your clumsy attempt with ease. Then he laughs. How badass. That's pretty badass. The dragonkin cowers before you, looking left and right. He opens his jaws, and you think he's about to yell for help. Wow. I'm going to give you a +10 bonus to charisma. Go ahead and roll. A small pool of urine collects under the elderly dragonkin as, hands trembling, it hands you the keys. Then it dies of fear. The dragonkin swallows the key, pointing at his stomach and then his own butt, laughing at you. Then normally, I'd say you failed the challenge, except that was so horrifically amazing. You won. As you free them, the prisoners run away from you in fear. What's next? Are you sure you want to skip the training ground and the prison camp? You enter the tent to find Durgaron, warlord of the Raiders of the Black Well, sitting comfortably at his throne. He's a huge red-eyed minotaur, swathed in a fine black cloak, gripping a two-handed sword that's easily 6 feet long. His laughter bellows, "Wah ha 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 ha. Your lands and people are already mine. Your deeds here mean nothing. Your kingdom was weak. You are weak." The fire fizzles out on contact. Durgaron laughs again, holding up his right arm to show off his bracer of fire immunity. Except for, acid blast, which someone used unnecessarily to show off for Chloe. Chloe, Barb, Calamastia, what'll it be? Like, right in the dick? You miss. Durgaron bursts out laughing as you stumble past him. He gores you in the side with a horn. 8 damage. What do you do next? It's like a shoulder slam, an angry shoulder slam. You scream with wrathful rage, then charge. Durgaron is caught off guard, and he fails to dodge. You slam your shoulder into him, knocking him back and doing some damage. Next, not for me. As you take your first step, you trip on a rock, collapsing onto the ground in a clangy jumble of metal. Your axe swings wildly to the side. Mikey, roll a reflex save. Your axe strikes Elamon's leg. Legs, plural, severing both feet at the ankles. Durgaron moves toward the crippled Elmon. I told you this was my best boss. Durgaron approaches, stomping his bloody hooves. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Like what? Elamon feels inspired. He summons the strength necessary to crawl away from Durgaron. You dance? What? Your crappy, arrhythmic dancing is weirdly mesmerizing to Durgaron. He pauses with his sword in midair for 10 seconds, buying Elamon time to crawl away. Okay. Durgaron has now turned his attention toward you. He charges, thrusting madly with his great sword. Your attempt to dodge his thrust fails. Durgaron laughs as he impales you on his blade, lifting you high into the air. You feel your strength draining away as Durgaron lifts you higher into the air. It hurts like hell. What do? You'll have to roll high to hit. You're almost dead. 11. You swing, catching Durgaron on the side of his head, severing one horn, but you don't do enough damage to kill him. He laughs, then rips you off his sword with a vicious jerk. You die painfully. You sure? You summon a spectral door, which shields you from Durgaron. Light flares out, blinding him. The door swings shut, then disappears. You are gone from sight and cannot be harmed. You'll have to roll high to hit. You're almost dead. You bring your axe down in a wicked chop, severing his arm completely. His bracer of fire immunity clings to the ground. Lying on the ground, you conjure a flaming spear, which flies from your hands to spear Durgaron in the chest, incinerating him completely from the inside out. Durgaron is defeated, but your wounds were too great. I'm afraid Chloe, the elf barbarian, is dead. I'm afraid Barb is dead. I'm afraid Calamastia is dead. Glad you enjoyed it, Chloe. If you go now, you can't rejoin later. Yeah. See ya. Why, yes, Chloe, of course you may look through that. It's fine. Whoa. Hey, Calamastia. Whoa. Hey, Barb. The elf barbarian. Whoa. Hey, Chloe. I told you Wells was out to get you. That text was a rare courtesy, by the way. I don't normally get involved in other people's dumb decisions. Skipping with Rachel Amber does have an appeal. So what are you doing here? Now I'm really curious. I'm prepping for the Tempest show tonight. I'm the stage manager. For real. You? What the hell? I'm the stage manager. You better mean it. Honestly, the show's really good. It's worth seeing. Obviously, Rachel's fantastic. But everyone else is pretty impressive, too. I am worried about Victoria coming in now and trying to hog every scene, but the cast overall is fantastic. You get to see a totally different side of everyone, especially the guys. Like, Hayden's so annoying, but when he puts on that crown, he's actually very princely. And Nathan as Caliban, there's so much depth there. Why am I not surprised? Oh, hey, I wanted to ask you something. I've been planning to make a move on Rachel, but not if you two were together. So, are you? I mean, that's Rachel's business. Or maybe yours and Rachel's business. But if you feel comfortable telling me, it looks to me like you've got a thing for her and maybe she has a thing for you. And I wouldn't want to get in the way. You've been hanging out a lot, which I know might not mean anything, but I like to be extra careful about these things. You sure? Yeah, I can imagine. You ever want to talk to me, Chloe, you know you can, right? Have fun storming the castle. I'll see you at the Tempest, right? Your shirt looks like the tea leaves they used to tell people's fortunes. Bright and sunny. Hey, pretty good. Miss Amber just told me Rachel's going to be okay. I'm really glad. Well, our room's just down the hall. You should come by. You made it. Love the hair, by the way. Sometimes you've just got to do something new. Yeah? I'll have to think about it. Maybe something red? Hey, any news about Rachel? Her mom seemed hopeful. Drew, chill out, okay? Yep. Oh, she went there. Oh, sports ball burn. Drew's been in a lot of pain today. In a good way. It was really great to see you, Chloe. Hey, you made it. Yeah, homework. Totally. Sweet hair, by the way. Any news about Rachel? Her mom seemed hopeful. The whole thing makes me want to just... I swear, if I ever meet that shithead, I'm gonna... Something terrible. I am. Okay. Okay. Enough. Nice. Elamon's backed himself into a pretty tight spot this time. He might not make it. So yes, I hate to be such a game master about it, but I'm pretty sure Chloe's character died last time. Wait a sec. Didn't you have that anklet of reincarnation in your inventory? What do you say? Okay. Let me know when. Ready to play? We'll be right here when you are. Say hi to Rachel for us. Thanks for stopping by. To recap, remember when you scared that dragonkin to death in the prison camp? Turns out, by doing so, you offended their entire clan. So, Elamon the wizard flew in a very wizardly way away from the dragonkin to seek refuge in the Chasmic Caves. Inside the cave, Elamon found himself attacked by a gelatinous polyhedron, whom he'd also just finished running away, or flying away from. But what Elamon doesn't know is that at the mouth of the cave, he's about to find himself face to face with... Guess again. Did you finish your character sheet? Suddenly, boom, boom, boom. Durgaron steps out from the shadows, blocking your path. Say something threatening. I wrote that for him. Now remember, Durgaron is still wearing his bracer of fire immunity and is impervious to all of Elamon's battle spells. It's your move. Channeling your immense fury, you try to lift Durgaron into the air for a body slam, badass style. Durgaron's stronger than you think. He reverses your grip and lifts you up, throwing you through the air easily. You land in an embarrassingly awkward way. Take 5 damage. Nat 20. Nice. Durgaron's head explodes in a shower of flaming hot blood and bone. Exactly. Durgaron, roll to reduce damage. You pull out your magically frozen blade and then unleash the ice slice to end all other ice slices. You slash at Durgaron, the icy edge of your weapon severing his big dumb head from his massive shoulders without difficulty. It's nothing personal. Durgaron's body falls to the ground, defeated. What do you two do next? Bracer of fire immunity. Elamon secures the bracer. Fine. You burst forth into the meadow, where, to your horror, you discover the waiting army of Dragonkin. Now, Elamon bursts forth into the meadow, where he's pleased to find. However, the two of you are less pleased to discover the waiting army of Dragonkin that have set a trap for you. Speaking of the caves, just as the Dragonkin horde is preparing to attack from the north, out bursts the army of gelatinous polyhedrons from behind you. Actually, you did grab Durgaron's bracer of fire immunity. Whoever wears it would survive. Bracer. Avronon. Elamon secures the bracer of fire immunity on his wrist. He gives the elf barbarian one last nod and reaches to the sky. The searing crystal lifts from his hands, floating up into the clouds. Suddenly, an explosion. Fire arcs outward in a ring. Then the ring begins to spin. The Dragonkin and gelatinous polyhedrons cease their fighting. A quiet stillness encompasses the meadow as all creatures gaze upward at the swirling flames. The flames descend over the meadow, bathing everything in liquefying arcs of infernal chaos. Monsters begin screaming in agony. Chloe, you've got one final moment before your angry elven body is burned away forever. Any last words? Way to keep the moment going. The spell comes to a spectacular climax, until all you can see is white. Then, all is calm. All is quiet. All is ash. Congratulations, Elamon. You have completed Revenge of the Dragonkin. This is gonna be dope. Mikey. A dome of blinding light surrounds the party. It captures the attention of all surrounding creatures. They immediately charge. The shield of stars withstands some of the blows, but wave after wave of attacks weakens it until the shield gives out. Dragonkin and gelatinous polyhedra descend upon the party. Oh, yeah. By fire and sword, you take many of them down, though there are always more to take their place. Eventually, their numbers overwhelm you, hacking you to death or burning you with acid, or both. Eventually, you die, your body's torn to pieces. This is gonna be dope. That was a pretty intense one. Thanks for playing. It always means a lot to Mikey. Why, of course. Anyway, we're glad Rachel's okay. You should hang out here till she wakes up. We rejoin Elamon as he majestically soars over the traveler's path. He glances over his shoulder, only to discover his pursuers are right behind him. Elamon comes around a corner to discover Chloe, the elf barbarian, sitting by a fire, roasting squirrels. Barb, the elf barbarian, sitting by a fire, roasting squirrels. Calamastia, the elf barbarian, sitting by a fire, roasting squirrels. Remember when you killed that jailer and took his key to free the prisoners in the prison camp? Turns out you offended their entire clan. Suddenly, Dragonkin scouts rush in, clawing you while your backs are turned. Take 4 damage. You're up first. What do you want to do? They're not carrying weapons. Okay, you now wield a severed Dragonkin arm. What's next? You curl the fingers into a fist, and bludgeon them with it, swinging the arm with a blind fury until no dragon can remain. You channel all your barbarian rage into your clenched fists, wailing on the dragonkin until the light slowly fades from their little dragonkin eyes. Good enough. You spin around, using your axe to slash all 6 dragonkin at once. They all drop dead in a puddle of blood. Don't celebrate yet. You begin to hear the clinking armor of hundreds of dragonkin warriors. The sound grows louder as they grow closer. You sprint as fast as you can until you come across a fork in the road. One path leads into the mouth of a deep, dark cave. The other takes you into a dense, misty forest. Which way do you go? Totally. Roll for perception. You become still, channeling your elf hearing into the caves. Inside, you hear something moving around. It sounds squishy and possibly very, very evil. Not so fast. You now turn to listen to the forest. You hear the spirits of those buried there, whispering to each other. This is sacred ground. Despite the desolate look of the caves, your elvish senses tell you that something does in fact live inside. Something unfriendly. Next, you turn to the forest. Though it seems still, you sense that what's inside is not entirely at rest. You can't be totally positive, but you're pretty sure the forest has trees. As soon as you enter the shade of the great trees, it becomes eerily silent and very cold. You notice the stones on the ground are arranged in strange patterns, creating huge designs all over the forest floor. The stones lead you to the center of the forest, where you see a mysterious glowing idol upon a golden pedestal. Awesome. Roll for idol theft. You find a log on the ground and pick it up. Ever so slowly, you lift the idol and slide the log into its place. Sweat pours down your face. You wait, but nothing happens. No net appears to catch you. No blow darts shoot from the trees. The idol is yours. Using the idol, Elamon channels the energy of the forest. Fog sweeps in from all around, obscuring his legs. When the fog rolls out, Elamon has a brand new pair of feet. Suddenly, a bony hand shoots up from the ground in front of you. Then, the undead soldier it belongs to sits up from his grave, sending dirt and pebbles flying. Your excited shouts have woken him from his slumber. As you approach the idol, you dash your foot against one of the stones and fall face first into the dirt. A bony hand shoots up from the ground right before your eyes. You feel the ground move and jump up just in time for the undead soldier buried there to sit up from his shallow grave. Dirt and pebbles cascade down his fleshless torso. Roll to steal the forest idol. You approach the idol and thoughtlessly snatch it off its pedestal. Then, the ground beneath you shakes. Bony, rotting hands shoot up from the ground all around as an entire army of undead warriors rises from their graves. You have disrupted the undead forest, an ancient burial ground for fallen soldiers. They surround you now, armed to the teeth, bony faces grinning. Luckily, the undead have a very low running speed. The party flees safely, but the soldiers aren't far behind. You plunge into the darkness. The uneven, rocky terrain beneath your feet makes it difficult to navigate. You come around a corner to find a cube of bright green goo sitting in your path. Dead rats float around inside it, slowly dissolving. You fall into it. It starts to burn your skin. A little at first, but the pain only grows the longer you stay stuck. Your flame-made scythe slices the gelatinous polyhedron in half, freeing your companion. But right before your very eyes, the two halves grow and shift until you're face to jelly with two full gelatinous polyhedra. Your move. You swing your axe with the power of a small sun, slicing each of the cubes into thirds. You bring the flat of your axe down over the polyhedra, smashing them each into 3 little globs. But yet again, the chunks of jelly grow and shift until you're looking at a small army of 6 gelatinous polyhedra. A good game master is always prepared. The polyhedra engulf you, burning any exposed skin and searing your clothes. Take 12 damage. You send out a burst of fire, exploding the polyhedra into hundreds of tiny pieces. It's super effective. Your attack managed to split the jelly into thousands of tiny globs. You curl up into an angry little elf ball and roll furiously around the caves, smashing each of the little jelly bits into even more, even littler jelly bits. Luckily, gelatinous polyhedra have a very low movement speed. The party flees safely, but the polyhedra aren't far behind. As you near the edge of the forest, you hear the familiar boom, boom, boom of heavy footsteps. As you near the exit of the caves, you hear the familiar boom, boom, boom of heavy footsteps. Out of the shadows and into your path steps Durgaron. Make that 16 damage. Back to you. Durgaron takes 21 damage, but is still standing strong. The elf just manages to duck under your blade, avoiding damage, but getting a pretty nasty haircut. What would you like to see? An image forms in your mind. You see a small, adorable gnome bard singing a sweet song in a city street. Suddenly, Durgaron appears standing over him. He snatches up the bard, carries him to the sea, and throws him like a football far into the storm-tossed currents. Immediately after, he grabs his throwing shoulder in pain. She lunges for you. You try to raise your sword, but pain shoots through your arm like lightning. Her axe gets you right in the ribcage, dropping you to your knees. Though his bracer shields him from the heat, the gravitational force of the sun causes Durgaron's head to implode until it disappears with a bloody pop. You're near the edge of the forest when you run across. You're near the exit of the caves when you run across Pavel, the arrogant gnome bard, joins your party. In the time you've been chatting, the army of undead has caught up to you. The first cohort launches iron spears directly at Elamon. What do? The army of gelatinous polyhedra has caught up to you. Several spew acid directly at Elamon. What do? You block almost every attack, but one makes it through. Take 6 damage. The army is still advancing. What do you do next? As you near the edge of the forest, an enormous undead soldier steps into your path. He roars, sending thousands of years of bad breath at you like a wave. As you close in on your path out of the caves, all the gelatinous polyhedra smush together to form a boss polyhedra. It's catching up to the party. Your attack doesn't do nearly enough damage to kill it, but it buys you enough time to escape into the meadows. Brutal. The small gnome doesn't do much damage, but the beast stops to tear the bard limb from bloody limb. Brutal. Despite the perfect spiral his oddly shaped body makes, as it spins through the air, the small gnome doesn't do much damage. Then he begins to slowly dissolve before your eyes inside the gelatinous polyhedron's acidic grasp. His screams follow you. A perfect E-flat. As you escape into the meadows, you stick your foot out. He tries, but Pavel's little legs aren't long enough for him to dodge you. He falls the whole 3 feet to the ground in slow motion. As your allies escape, the undead soldiers approach your fallen body. Thirsty for blood after thousands of years, they eagerly rip you limb from limb. As your allies escape, the acidic polyhedra creep over your fallen body. The acid burns like hell as it slowly dissolves your tiny, gnomish body. His cries of agony, pitched to a dissonant C-sharp, follow you as you flee. All's fair in love and tabletop. You whip the bard's little body back and forth, catching every spear as they fly at you. The gnome shrieks, perfect F-sharp with every impact. You whip the bard's little body back and forth, blocking each blast of acid as they fly at you. The gnome shrieks a perfect F-sharp with every hit. Eventually, all the skin melts from your body, and you die. You burst forth into the majestic meadow, horizon to horizon. All you can see is lush, green fields full of birds, flowers, and dragonkin. Instead of chasing you, they circle around to set a trap. And you just walked right into it. A spear from the waiting army soars through the sky, hitting and killing Pavel, the arrogant gnome bard. I rolled really high. As the dragonkin ahead prepare to attack, the army of undead arrive behind you. The army of gelatinous polyhedra arrive behind you. The dragonkin and undead soldiers cease their charge. The dragonkin and gelatinous polyhedra cease their charge. Dragonkin and undead warriors descend upon the party. Their numbers overwhelm you, hacking you to death or burning you with acid, or both. Ah, yes!